Canada has unfortunately long been plagued with low voter turnout that has undermined our democracy and threatened our electoral system. To combat this, I've proposed a mandatory voting reform that has many positive benefits. The first one is strengthening voter turnout. Obviously, this is an obvious one, but in the 2021 federal election, only 62% of eligible Canadians casted their vote. This is an alarming trend that raises questions about the legitimacy of our democracy. If you compare this to countries like Australia, who've implemented who've implemented mandatory voting, and is very similar country to Canada, they have had turnout rates exceeding 90% consistently. High turnout ensures that decisions reflect the will of the majority, not just the most active or extreme values in society. This leads me to my next point, which is enhancing representation. Mandatory voting can help Canada address socioeconomic disparities in electoral participation. Right, as of now, current wealthier and older people and more educated individuals are overrepresented at the polls, while lower income and marginalized communities often feel left out. By making voting a requirement, we can ensure that all voices are heard, which will lead to a government that reflects the diversity of Canada's population. Thirdly, um, critics do argue that forcing people to vote might lead to uninformed decisions, but research actually shows the opposite. In Australia, where again have already implemented mandatory voting, um, citizens are actually more likely to educate themselves about political issues, which forms a more informed electorate. Mandatory voting teaches that democracy is not just a right, but the shared responsibility of all Canadians. Reducing political polarization is also another very positive benefit to this reform. In voluntary systems, parties focus on mobilizing their core supporters, which leads to divisive and polarizing campaigns. In mandatory voting, parties will appeal to the broader audience, which will encourage policies that address the needs of everyone, not just specific voter blocks, that will help them get elected. Um, then, lastly, uh, mandatory voting will strengthen democratic legitimacy. Mandatory voting bolsters legitimacy of elected governments. Government elected by a large and representative portion of the population can claim a stronger mandate to govern, which enhances public trust and political stability. This is crucial at a time when trust in democratic institutions is being challenged worldwide. Some would worry that mandatory voting infringes on individual freedom. However, this system doesn't force anyone to choose a candidate; it simply requires showing up. You can choose to spoil your ballot, and your vote will not count toward anyone, but it still counts toward the fact that you voted and fulfilled your civic duty. Uh, and so, mandatory voting is more than just a policy change; it's equivalent to a stronger, fairer democracy. It ensures that every Canadian has a voice, that elections reflect our diversity, that governments are chosen by all of us, not just some of us. Canada's always been a leader in democratic innovation, so let's take the next step together with mandatory voting.